Hello again, everybody. So we do have our presentation that myself and Joseph Haddad worked on together. Our adaptation, what we chose was physical impairment, which we just got finished going through in our last module. So the first thing is, what is physical impairment? Physical impairment is a disability that limits a person's physical capacity to move, coordinate actions, or perform physical activities. It is also accompanied by difficulties in one or more of the following areas: physical and motor tasks, independent movement, performing daily living functions. And that was just the site that I got that off of. However, we did learn that in regards to physical disabilities, it also comes with auditory processes as well as orthopedic impairment. The challenge here in the educational setting, obviously there's other challenges in multiple aptitudes of life for these students, but students often feel very frustrated because of their limiting disability. I couldn't imagine sitting at a desk not being able to use my pencil when the teacher asks me to or whatnot. They oftentimes do not feel normal, which, when you see these children integrated into the mainstream general education inclusive classrooms, all the other kids, most of them do not have physical disabilities, which for a young child who does, they just might not understand their disability yet, and it could cause them to not feel normal. In most cases, the physical disability can halt their learning process. They could be so concerned about their disability that they're not actually learning. A lot of times I feel that kids with physical disabilities are usually sadly not integrated into mainstream education and inclusive classrooms. Sometimes they're homeschooled with their parents or with an aide, or are in the special education programs depending upon any other type of disabilities that they might have. They are often socializing more with adults rather than their peers. So this also is, often not a normal thing to be socializing with adults more than children your age. They probably have aides, and the teachers help them more often, so they feel more close to them. And they also need the extra help from aides. So no matter what they're working on, they're going to have an aide more than likely near them, or a really, really great inclusive teacher. Some adaptations for physical impairment is going to be inclusive teaching and having an inclusive classroom. Making sure that your physical disability student does have everything that they need to understand what's going on in the classroom and not have that be so debilitating that they can't learn. One-to-one sessions, it seems like a fairly good adaptation for physical impairment. Helping them one-on-one, because obviously their brain is there's nothing wrong there in most cases, but they just can't do it physically. Ergonomically sound desks or standing desks might be a great adaptation for children and students, depending upon what their physical disability is. Maybe they have a wheelchair, maybe they need wheelchair accessible desks, maybe they have a back problem, so they need to stand. All these things can definitely be done in an inclusive classroom. And then aids for physical mobility purpose and or academic help. An aid that's going to help them, move around and do the activities that need to be done physically in class, because more than you think, there is a lot of physical activities that go on inside classrooms and outside classrooms. So in conclusion, creating an inviting and a safe classroom environment, not only do these children and students need to be able to do these physical things, but also need to make sure that it's a safe classroom for these students to participate in the physical activities. Having an inclusive classroom and inclusive teaching, making sure that, a student can see from where they're standing or sitting, or they're not uncomfortable while they're trying to learn. Keeping up to date with research and resources to help students. I always say this in a lot of my presentations just because I feel like the it's an ever revolving door with education and keeping up to date with new things that are coming out and the resources and how to, get to these students, get on the internet, get with other teachers that have had this before. And, especially being new to education for myself, I'm definitely going to tap into all the resources I can get to help any of these students. Also, the last thing I believe was having empathy and understanding of the impaired students. It may take a lot longer to, help these students, but having empathy and understanding that they're just as frustrated, and, you being the teacher and being the person that they look to for help, really having a sense of empathy and understanding will really help these impaired students. Another quick thing that I wanted to go over was our brochure that we made. We have our physical disabilities and statistics. So according to the California Department of Education for 2017 to 18, 10,453 students received special education services for orthopedic impairment. That is a lot more students than I would have ever thought. And then for the National Center for Education Statistics, 52,000 students receive service for orthopedic impairment. So that is a lot. Around 13% of the student population has some form of disability, while orthopedic disabilities account for 0.1 of the total students. We went over the classroom environment and having furniture positioned differently, walkways being open, software and technology, speech recognition, screen reading, alternative communication devices were also a type of adaptation we could have. During for our brochure, we have all different resources on here that you can find, and if you wanted to go ahead and take a look at that. But the big thing I did want to touch on was campus culture right here, and the stereotyping, the stigma and prejudice and discrimination. Oftentimes a physical disability can often be described as discrimination. People discriminate against it. So that's a big thing that, in an inclusive classroom, we would obviously learn about that and how it is just a debilitating physical impairment. And all these students deserve the chance to be able to get to where they want to get to. So thanks for listening.